SHM, or simple harmonic motion, describes how things move when they oscillate. Let's say that we have somebody on a swing, and here they are at equilibrium. That's where they would be if they weren't swinging. And that's the midpoint, isn't it? Because once they start swinging, the swing should be symmetrical about that point. What if this person wants to start swinging and they get pulled up to this position here and they're ready to be let go? When they're at equilibrium, do they feel any force trying to bring them back towards equilibrium? Well, no, they don't, because they are at equilibrium already. But when they're up here, they do feel a force that's trying to pull them back towards equilibrium. Is that always going to be the case? When they're the other side, is the force still going to be towards the left? Well, no, because we know that gravity, their weight, is going to try and pull them back towards equilibrium again. It might seem a little bit obvious, but it's actually very important that you know the conditions needed for SHM. And the first condition is this: acceleration, and therefore force 2, acts in the opposite direction to displacement. If we say that to the right is positive and to the left is negative, when they're displaced to the right, their displacement is positive. Which way is the force and acceleration pointing? Negative. When we're the other side, the displacement is negative, but the force is pointing in the positive direction. So this is correct. Acceleration acts in the opposite direction to displacement. If I lifted them higher, would they experience a greater force or a smaller force to begin with? Well, they should experience a greater force, shouldn't they? As they come back towards the centre here, as they're in equilibrium, we said that there's no acceleration back towards the centre because they're already at the centre. So what we find is that acceleration, and therefore force 2, is proportional to displacement. So those are the two conditions needed for SHM. If number 2 was true, but number 1 wasn't, then that would mean that acceleration would be pointing in the same direction as displacement, and whoosh, the person on the swing would be gone before you know it. So let's make an equation for this then. Like we said, acceleration is proportional to displacement. We're going to give displacement the letter x. Try and make a curly x instead of a multiply sign. But we know that satisfies condition number 2, but we know it needs to be going in the opposite direction as well, so we put the minus in front as well. To turn this into an equation with an equal sign, we need to introduce a constant, and actually for SHM that ends up being this. The minus is there, which is going to be equal to 2 pi f squared x. F being frequency, 2 pi f being angular frequency or angular velocity, also equal to minus omega squared x. Now, when we talk about frequency, we are talking about complete oscillations per second. So if we're starting at the top, then that means going over to the other side and coming back again to the same position. That's one complete oscillation. Same thing if we started at the middle. To do one complete oscillation, we'd need to go to the left, to the right, and back again, not just to the left and back again. So frequency, that's complete oscillations per second. X is displacement, I should say from equilibrium. I'm going to write equilibrium like that, EQ little m, makes it a little easier. And also we need to talk about time period. That's for one oscillation. How do we find the time period from the frequency? Well, they're reciprocals of each other, one divided by the other one. Amplitude, we're going to give that the symbol A. That is the maximum displacement from equilibrium. In other words, you can't get any further away from equilibrium unless you have another external force involved. More on that later. So when it comes to any SHM, it could be somebody on a swing, or it could be a pendulum similar to this, or it could be a mass on a spring. We need to understand what's happening to the displacement, force, acceleration, and speed, velocity at any given time. So I'm going to draw myself a little grid here. So looking at our swing here, I'm going to give you the 3 positions here: left, center, that's equilibrium, and right. I wonder if you can tell me what the displacement, the velocity, the acceleration, and the force is at each of these points, whether they're maximum, 0, and then to the left or the right. But instead of left and right, I want you to use negative and positive. So 10 seconds, pause the video if you have to. See if you can figure those out. So displacement, nice and easy first. When it's at the left, we know it's at max, and that's negative. At the center, it's 0. At the right, it's max, but in the positive direction. Let's go for speed. When it's at the left here, what is the speed at that point? Well, it's actually 0. Same at the right. We get the max speed when we're going through the center. Now, whether it's going to the right or the left, well, as it's going from left to right, the velocity is going to be positive, and vice versa. So we're going to say positive or negative depending on which way it's going. What about the acceleration? When do we have no acceleration? We have no acceleration at the center. No acceleration towards the center because it's already there. When it's at the left, which way is the acceleration pulling? To the right, and it's at a max there. Look at this, displacement and acceleration going the opposite way. We know that's got to be true. And here as well. That's at a max, but it's going to be negative. Whatever the acceleration does, the force is going to do the same. So we know it's going to be the same as the acceleration there. Well done if you got those right. So what about if we drew a graph to show what's going on with displacement, velocity, and acceleration at any point? This side is positive, this side is negative, this is the midpoint, this is equilibrium. Let's start off with displacement. Now with a swing, we're going to start at a maximum, so we're going to say that it starts there, it follows this shape here. That is, well, it's supposed to be a sine wave. So this is displacement. Now if I drew a dotted line, joining the peaks together, what am I showing? I'm showing the maximum displacement, and that's my amplitude. So you should be able to see that already that the displacement at any point is going to be a fraction of the amplitude. And we started at a maximum, whoopsie, so that's going to be cos 2 pi ft. As per usual, if anything changes sinusoidally, then it's either going to be cos 2 pi ft or times sine 2 pi ft. So all we're saying is that displacement is going to be some fraction of A, the maximum displacement where we started them from. What about acceleration? Well, we know that from our conditions that acceleration is always going to be in the opposite direction. Now, I'm not drawing this to scale, so please don't get the idea that acceleration is as big as the displacement, but I'm just drawing it to show you the shape. So it's always going to be doing the opposite, isn't it? Slightly trickier one to do is velocity. Well, let's have a think about it. Here we start at the right hand side, so that's our swing, and it comes through to equilibrium like that. So at this point here, at equilibrium, the swing is going from right to left, so the velocity is actually negative. So we put a cross down there. Here it's going to be 0 because we're at the top. We know that speed is 0 at the top, and then we can just follow our pattern through. So we can see that all three of these things are 90 degrees out of phase, or pi over 2 radians out of phase with each other. Displacement is 90 degrees out of phase with velocity. Velocity is 90 degrees out of phase with the acceleration. Displacement and acceleration, 180 degrees out of phase with each other, which makes sense given our conditions earlier on. If you really want to get mathsy with it, the gradient of the displacement function actually gives you the velocity. They're derivatives of each other, but you don't need to go into derivatives and all that jazz, but it is worth knowing the gradient of the displacement line gives you the velocity at that point. Here we have a negative gradient, so that means that we have a negative velocity. Here we have a 0 gradient, so we have a 0 velocity. Here we have a positive gradient, so we have a positive velocity. That's how it works. So let's just go back to our equation for acceleration real quick. We had acceleration equals minus 2 pi f squared x. What's going to be the max acceleration then? When do we have max acceleration? Is it at equilibrium? No, because we know we've got no acceleration at that point. It's going to be at the maximum, or rather at the amplitude. So we can say that we have the max acceleration when x is a, when the displacement is the maximum displacement from equilibrium, the amplitude. Velocity is a bit of a trickier one. Now you don't need to know the derivation for this, but the velocity at any point is going to be plus or minus, because it can be going to the left or it could be going to the right. 2 pi f, then the square root of the amplitude squared minus the displacement squared. So let's say that the amplitude was 5, the displacement that we're looking at is 3, it's going to be 25, take away 9, and that gives us 16. Square root of that is going to be 4. That's how we find that out. When do we get maximum speed? We get maximum speed at equilibrium, because at the maximum, at the amplitude, we get no velocity, no speed for a split second, and then maximum speed as it comes through the equilibrium again. So that's when x equals 0. What does that give us? Plus or minus 2 pi f square root of just a squared. In other words, a. Now this is very useful when it comes to pendulums or swings. Pendula? Let's go with pendulums. Useful with pendulums and given the height difference. But on that note, if we are talking about a pendulum, and there it is at equilibrium, and then there it is at amplitude. There's my height difference, but that isn't my displacement. Where is my displacement? This is my displacement here. That's my x. Now you might see a bit of a problem with this. In reality, this is going to be a curved path because it is kind of like circular motion. But all of this SHM stuff is a good approximation for a pendulum that is displaced less than 10 degrees. So if that's 10 degrees there, then it's all good. If it's more than that, then we say that the model starts to break down a little bit. That's why whenever you do an experiment with this, you don't want to be putting a pendulum out there. You just want to be bring it out just a tiny bit, and you're going to find out that actually displacing it a little bit compared to a lot is, as it turns out, more accurate. So the question is how do you find the amplitude if you're given the height difference instead? You have to go for energy. What do you know? That at this point it doesn't have any kinetic energy, but it does have gravitational potential energy, mgh. When it comes back to equilibrium, all of that has been turned into kinetic energy, so that's half mv max squared. M's cancel, and you can find out your V max. Once you find your V max, you can find your amplitude if you have the frequency. One more small thing, what is the tension going to be in the string or whatever that's holding this up? Well, if you haven't seen my video on tension versus weight, then it's worth having a look at that. But we say that tension would be equals to mg in order to merely hold the mass on the end just there. But because it's actually making it go in circular motion at that point as well, we need to add on to there mv squared over r. And yes, that v there is going to be the V max.
Now what would the graphs for energy look like for a pendulum or a mass on a spring or anything undergoing SHM?
So what we can do is draw just simple axes, energy on the y-axis, and then we have displacement on the x-axis, and we have positive and negative. Then also we're going to have amplitude as well, so maximum displacement negative direction, and then the same the other side. So let's have a think about kinetic energy first. So where is kinetic energy going to be greatest? Think about a swing, think about a pendulum or a mass on a spring. It's going fastest when it goes through equilibrium. So I know that it's going to cross up there. Now when an object reaches amplitude, we know that for a split second it stops. So I know that it's going to do that as well. So joining these up, we end up with this shape here. So that's kinetic energy. What about potential energy? Well, when a pendulum or a swing is at equilibrium, it's not going to go anywhere, so it has no potential energy. So it's going to be the opposite. And then at amplitude, again, it's going to be the opposite to kinetic energy. So this is what we have for potential energy. Potential energy increases as we get further away from equilibrium. So potential energy. And that can be any kind of potential energy really. With a pendulum, it's gravitational potential energy. With a spring, it's elastic potential energy. There can be others as well. So what about total energy? Well, we know that in any system, total energy is equal to potential energy plus kinetic energy. So if we add all of these up at every point, we end up with just a straight line. So in theory, total energy should stay the same. But that's only in theory. That's only if there's no forces resulting in energy being taken out of the system, energy being taken out of the oscillations. Therefore, amplitude stays the same. In reality, we can have damping forces or actually driving forces as well, which can reduce and increase amplitude respectively. If you want to know more about that, have a look at the next video. So how can we find out what this total energy is equal to? So we could find that out from potential energy maybe, because at amplitude, doesn't matter which one, potential energy is equal to the total energy. So if we could find out the potential energy, then we've automatically got the total energy in the system. So if it's a pendulum, we could use e.g. mgh to calculate the potential energy and therefore the total energy. But more often than not, we will use, instead of potential energy, we'll use kinetic energy. So at equilibrium, it's the kinetic energy that is equal to the total energy. We can see that because there's no potential energy, so all of the energy is kinetic energy. We saw earlier that V max is equal to 2 pi f a, or omega a. I've just switched from K to EK, excuse me, same thing. This is equal to half mv squared. So therefore we could say that EK max is equal to half mv max squared. So then all we would have to do is stick this into here. And we can find out the maximum kinetic energy at this point here. And once we find that, well, that's the total energy. And we've also just proven why these lines are curves, because we can see that kinetic energy is proportional to velocity squared. And so because velocity depends on displacement, that means that energy is proportional to displacement squared. Quite often in questions, you'll be asked, what is the total energy of the system? And you'll be like, I don't have an equation for total energy. But just remember that if you can find out V max of the system, you can find out the maximum kinetic energy, and that's the same as the total energy of the system. So I hope that helps. If it did, please leave a like. If you have any questions or suggestions, put them in a comment down below. See you next time.